Paul W. S. Anderson's 2002 cinematic adaptation of Capcom's seminal survival horror video game, Resident Evil, stands as a fascinating and deeply divisive artifact within the horror and action genres, and perhaps more importantly, within the notoriously tricky realm of video game to film translations. It is a work that daringly, some would argue audaciously, diverges from the established canon and claustrophobic pacing of its source material, forging instead a relentless, adrenaline-fueled hybrid that redefined the expectations for its narrative kind. This is not the slow-burn, puzzle-laden, fixed-camera terror of the Spencer Mansion. This is a kinetic, industrial Gothic nightmare set within the colossal, subterranean architecture of the Umbrella Corporation's most secretive facility, the Hive. The film's very architecture, both literally and narratively, is predicated on amnesia and the brutal, immediate need for survival. We are thrust, without preamble, into the life of Alice, played with a compelling blend of ferocity and vulnerability by Milla Jovovich. Alice awakens in a luxurious, yet eerily empty, mansion bathroom, a clean slate whose past has been violently scrubbed by a gas-induced memory wipe. Her confusion mirrors the audience's, immediately establishing a shared journey of discovery and peril. This amnesia is a brilliant narrative device, freeing the film from the obligation of immediate fan service or complex exposition, allowing it to build its own mythology from the ground up. Alice is not Jill Valentine or Chris Redfield. She is a blank canvas upon which the brutal realities of the Umbrella Corporation's hidden war will be painted in blood and corporate secrecy. The narrative engine ignites when Alice is abruptly joined by a disparate and heavily armed unit. Matt Addison, a man seeking answers about his sister, and a striking group of commandos led by one, all converge in the mansion, which serves as a discreet backdoor to the aforementioned Hive. Their mission, initially presented as a security breach investigation, rapidly escalates into a desperate quarantine effort. The true protagonist of the film, in a metaphorical sense, is not Alice, but the technological monstrosity she must confront, the Hive itself. Anderson crafts the Hive as a character, a sleek, hyper-modernist dungeon of cold steel, glass, and labyrinthine tunnels that feel less like a laboratory and more like a tomb designed by a megalomaniacal architect. This is the stage for the true horror, not of zombies alone, but of unchecked corporate power and the ultimate betrayal of science. The catastrophe is not an accident in the conventional sense. It is a meticulously crafted scenario of containment failure initiated by the facility's own AI security system, the Red Queen. The Red Queen, an ethereal child's face projected onto screens, acts as the film's first genuine antagonist. Her chilling, synthesized voice delivers the stark, brutal truth. The facility's inhabitants, hundreds of scientists and personnel, have been killed to prevent the escape of the T-virus, the bioweapon responsible for turning the dead into ravenous, reanimated creatures. This shift from an accidental outbreak to a deliberate, technological, self-cleaning, is perhaps the film's most enduringly chilling concept. It posits that the true terror is not the monster, but the logic, the cold, calculated algorithm of corporate self-preservation that deems mass murder a necessary measure. The famous laser corridor sequence, a visceral, unforgiving gauntlet of technological violence that dissects most of the commando team, is the Red Queen's signature move, a dazzling, horrifying display of her absolute, non-negotiable authority. It's a sequence that has transcended the film itself, becoming a cornerstone of action horror choreography. Once the security measures are bypassed, the film unleashes the iconic threat, the undead. Anderson's zombies are not the lumbering, melancholic creatures of George A. Romero's early works. They are rabid, fast, and driven by an insatiable hunger, establishing a precedent for the fast zombie trope that would later dominate the genre. The visceral, close-quarters combat sequences are integral to the film's identity. Jovovich's Alice is transformed from a confused victim into a preternaturally skilled warrior, her fragmented memories manifesting as muscle memory, a ballet of martial arts and gunplay. The action is stylized, almost hyper-real, leaning into the kinetic visual language of Hong Kong action cinema and contemporary music videos, a signature of the director's style. The film excels in delivering a relentless series of escalating threats, carefully paced to maximize the tension and claustrophobia. The discovery of the Cerberus dogs, grotesquely mutated into vicious, undead hounds, provides a primal, animalistic terror that contrasts sharply with the purely human threat of the zombies. The commandos' desperate struggle to reach the surface becomes a countdown against both the Red Queen's internal security protocols and the overwhelming tide of infection. Crucially, Resident Evil establishes a narrative framework centered on corporate conspiracy, a theme that grounds the supernatural horror in a recognizable, real-world fear. We learn that Alice and her erstwhile husband, Spencer, were Umbrella security operatives, covertly guarding the facility and gathering intelligence. The true betrayal lies not in the virus's escape, but in the calculated actions of those within the corporation who sought to weaponize it, turning the horror into a profitable commodity. This focus shifts the terror from a simple, monster movie to a commentary on capitalist ruthlessness. The final act introduces the iconic Licker, a creature of pure, grotesque biological horror. Its reveal, a skinless, multi-limbed monstrosity with a serpentine tongue, is a jarring break from the zombie hordes, signaling the escalation of the T-virus's capacity for mutation. The fight against the Licker, and the final confrontation that sees Alice and Matt escape, solidifies the film's theme of the human spirit's resilience against unimaginable odds, even when one's very identity has been weaponized and erased. The conclusion of the film is perhaps its most compelling and narratively brave choice. Alice and Matt are apprehended by Umbrella personnel, subjected to further experimentation, and their escape is merely a transition to a larger, more horrifying stage. Alice awakens in a quarantined hospital, the city of Raccoon City now utterly devastated by the very outbreak she fought so hard to contain. Her final walk through the ruinous, silent streets, armed with a shotgun and a newfound, almost superhuman resolve, is a brilliant coda. It transforms the self-contained horror story of the Hive into a global apocalypse, an open-ended promise of future confrontation. This ending is not a simple sequel hook. It is a powerful statement about the inescapable nature of the corporate evil she now faces, elevating Alice from a mere survivor to a post-apocalyptic iconoclast, a solitary warrior against the machine. In essence, the 2002 film Resident Evil is a creature of duality. It is a sleek, hyper-stylized action film that pays homage to the gothic atmosphere and biological horrors of its source material while simultaneously rejecting its core mechanics. It is a successful piece of kinetic entertainment that launched a profitable franchise, precisely because it prioritized a new protagonist and a new, faster pace, establishing a cinematic identity distinct from the game's legacy. It is a narrative about technological terror, corporate sociopathy, and the rebirth of a human being stripped of her past, destined to become a harbinger of resistance in a world consumed by its own darkest scientific creations. It is, ultimately, a foundational piece of 21st-century horror action cinema, a relentlessly entertaining and uniquely dark vision of a bioengineered apocalypse.